So an advantage of BoviSync is there's no limitation on the events that we can enter and record and report on. And when combined that with mobile app, now we have the timestamps and the technician that's actually associated with the chores when they get completed in the app available for reporting. So this is a basic treatment report. So we have a list of treatment events that were recorded, and we've tied in that important information that we need for compliance and traceability. So one of the advantages of having individuals logged into phones is that not only are we saving time as we get this information, saving time on data entry, we have that context of who's actually doing the work. So we can compare the information and decisions that people are actually making on our behalf in the barns. And I think the advantage there is that we can make sure that we all are on the same page and following the same processes. So we can directly compare the diagnosis that people are making. One good example that we have is just having a phone available to the parlor. We can, or a cow pusher, we can create that chore list button or a chore list event entry screen that only has 1 or 2 buttons on it, so it's not confusing. It's a 2-minute training process. Click here, click here. Now they're in their screen. We can name it their button or feet, whatever we need to do, and we give them an easy way to record lameness events, and we can use that to kick off processes to get cows on other lists for hoof trimmers and herd crews. Now we've taken the information in the previous report about diagnosis events and applied it to a graph. Here we're comparing the technicians at birth, the technician that was recorded at freshening, and looking at outcomes for the calves that they took care of, assigned to them. And we can do it on lab results. So if we have IgGs, we can bring that in, but we could simply take the information from that birth cohort table we had earlier and apply the same thing by grouping it by technician instead of by month born. So there's 2 service events in BoviSync. We have an implant event and a bred event, and it allows us to do some interesting reporting that really helps us manage implant programs. And we can go back to that report map and look for embryo transfer and find this conception rate implants report at the top. One of the advantages of BoviSync is the ability to bring more information in. In the case of implants, we have a pre-built import that will allow you to bring in information. So at the time the implant's recorded, all we need to do is record event date and the recip ID, and we can import that extra information after the fact. And it allows us to do reporting like this when combined with the Bovi Insights reporting, and we eliminate a lot of that work that many of the farms that are using ETs, they do a lot of work trying to standardize the data to get to this information now. And in BoviSync, we simplified that by just being able to group it, and then we can really dig into our success rate with different types of eggs at different time periods. So now we take some of this cow animal information and we can use that to classify or dig into some of our event data. So in this case, we've taken that transition period question, whether or not the animal had a transition incident or not, and we're comparing the conception rate performance between those. So anything that belongs to an animal, we can use that to group by and basically determine whether or not it's impacting performance and reproduction. So we are interested in providing easier access to information for everybody involved at the dairy. So for example, we now have the ability to import some feeding information into BoviSync. So we've created a import of feeding at a pen level on a daily basis. Here we have it grouped by week. And it's just a quick way to summarize what actual dry matter intakes are happening on the dairy, and we're tying that to information in BoviSync. The real value here is that you don't have to go to another system to access this information. If you have permission to this, to the herd through BoviSync, everything can be interacted with in one spot. Data client to move files back and forth for systems that operate locally. Most of the parlors today operate locally, and we're able to send status files and receive that parlor information. We actually store all the parlor information individually for animals long-term. Genomics, we import the entire genomics file. It's available for reporting whenever it comes in. And the DHI that's happening in the cloud. So we have collaborated with EverAg. EverAg is responsible for processing milk payments to dairymen for approximately 85% of the US herd. Payments are actually processed by EverAg, and we have a link to them. So you simply log in to EverAg through BoviSync, and we will import the processor information into BoviSync in a similar fashion to the feed reporting. So now we're tying that information together so it's easily accessible in one spot. That's something we're introducing right now.